Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. So coming to you today, and I wanted to share some results from a recent range trip where I was testing the McGuire 128 grain, McGuire Ballistics 128 grain copper rose hollow point, and I was testing that bullet in my 270 Winchester with this powder. Now this is the Midwest Powders MP620. Midwest Powders, I know for sure you can pick it up over at AmericanReloading.com, and not exactly sure where else you can find this stuff, but I know they have a lot of the Midwest Powders. They'll run them on sale quite a bit, and due to the ongoing, well, not as bad now, but for a little while when you were still struggling to find powder, this stuff would come in stock, and I'd never used it before, never really heard of a lot of other people using it, but the prices were pretty good on it, better than anything else I could find, and in some cases you couldn't find powder. So instead of just continuing to wait, went ahead and bought some just to give it a try. Now this stuff, they do have very limited load data to go along with this powder, and they'll tell you exactly what it's similar to, right? This MP620, it tells you right on the jug, use Alliant Reloader 19 data, work up all loads using Reloader 19 minus 10%. Customer assumes all liability, blah, blah, blah. So I went with that simply because Reloader 19 is a really good powder in 30-06, 270 cartridges like that. So I wanted to give it a shot, just test it out, see if this stuff was even worth it. And I believe it is. So let's go to the results. Now, this was again tested in my Tika T3X Lite. This is the one with the laminate stock. And I was using some Sig Sauer brass. This stuff's been fired a handful of times. Went through my normal, full-length resizing process. Primed them with CCI 200 large rifle primers. And then loaded up. I actually loaded up 30 rounds. I did 6 5-shot groups, and I started at 54.5 grains, and I jumped in 1 grain increments each time. So I was making, kind of large jumps, 1 grain at a time, from 54.5 up to 59.5, and just checking for, velocity and pressure along the way, that type of thing. And also, what do the groups look like, since I'm using the Garmin chronograph, and I'm able to actually get velocity data and group data all at the same time, instead of having to sacrifice one versus the other, using something like a magnetospeed chronograph now that I use the Garmin. So let's see here. This target's kind of busy, but I'll show you what we really want to focus on. This is where I started the 270 Winchester testing. This is the 54.5 grain load. So you can see these 5 here. Those are 5 shots. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is again 54.5. We jump up to 55.5. A little bit smaller on our group size there. 56.5. It actually, we have 4 and then we have 1 off to the right. So that's 56.5. 57.5. We have 4 and then 1 up and to the left. 58.5. We have all 5 somewhat closer together. So there you go, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And then 59.5, I was actually shot on a different target, and it's these 5. So you can see, as we went up in charge weight, didn't really see any gain in precision, right? Groups didn't really shrink. Didn't seem like this bullet powder combination played really well as we went up in charge weight. Now down here around the 54.5 and 55.5 grain charge weights, those 2 groups were the 2 of the best groups, the 2 best groups that we shot out of the 6. And for the first one, the 54.5, it was like 29-15 on the velocity. For the second one, we were at like 2975. So under 3,000 feet per second, which is not that bad. It is only a 128 grain bullet, so you'd think we'd be able to push it up a little bit further, which we definitely did as we went up in charge weight. Didn't really run into any concerning pressure signs when we made it all the way up to 59.5. The velocity was pretty good at that point. We were at 3250, so those are really moving on. Velocity wise, that's not necessarily something that, you know, the group really didn't look that great. For the hunting, you know, the hunting and shooting that I do, that's more than adequate. I can go kill deer all day long here in Alabama with that particular load. But I'm thinking coming back down here around the lower end is going to be perfectly fine. I don't think we'll have any issues finding a good shooting load somewhere down here on this lower end. These two charge weights, 1 grain apart, you know, the point of impact, there was a shift there. So see if we can load ourselves out of that. I would like to see what it looks like on both sides of this 55.5 grain load. So if I go to something like 55, 55 and a half, and then 56, right, I would like to come back and retest that, see what that range looks like. But yeah, I think this is extremely promising. I am really liking how this powder performed. I was a little worried that, man, we'd be spraying them all over the place and we just wouldn't find anything really that we wanted to focus in on, which would have been a huge letdown, right? Loading up 30 of these Meguiar ballistic bullets. You know, these are just like any other solid copper projectile. They're in terms of being more spendy. Let's see if I can get the box open one-handed. But these things are quickly becoming my go-to hunting bullet. So solid copper, CNC machined hunting bullet, and man, it just, the 30 cal version, you know, there's that video on my channel where I killed a 9-point whitetail buck with the 30 cal version, and my 30 TC performed incredibly well. So I'm quickly becoming a huge fan of this bullet, and I was really hoping that this bullet powder combination would shoot well, which again, we're going to focus down here on this range. We're not really going to push it. I don't care to chase the velocity in this particular case. I think we can sacrifice a little bit of that to try to tighten up the groups and see if we can consistently do this, right? Somewhere inch and below would be nice. So that's it. That's where we're going to leave it. Really short, sweet video, just to the point. Yeah, so that's where we're going to call it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Go check out Midwest Powders. Get you some, test it out for yourself. And Meguiar Ballistics bullets. So we'll catch you next time. Y'all have a good one.